That was definitely Carnage, alright. Just not the kind I was expecting. Not to mention, it didn't fix any of the problems from the last one. But it's still fun, right? Yes. Is it still good? Yes. But not as good the second time around. Now, I don't know if this is controversial or whatever, but this is just my personal opinion. So if you think this movie is better than the first, I can entirely understand why. If you think it is worse, like I do, I appreciate your input. If you're someone that's kind of in the middle, I can also kind of get it. This is another movie that kind of falls into the divisive category. So, without further ado or delay, and with our white lighting changed to a nice dark red, let's get into it. What's up, what's happening, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to New Stage Jones for Branding and Animation, including TV and movies as well. I'm your host, Justin Small. Welcome back to Return to 31 Days of Horror. We are talking about the second Venom movie of the franchise. It is Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage. Continuing off of the awesome post-credit scene of the last movie, where we teased Woody Harrelson as Cletus Cassidy, and they were bringing in Venom for the second movie. Yeah, it's a lot like when they teased Tails at the end of the first Sonic movie. It's something that gets you excited. And Carnage alone had me very excited to check this movie out. And when I first watched it, I thought it was a great time. But watching it again, more of the cracks started to show. So I'm not as positive on it as I was when I first watched it back in 2018, I think it came out. Not 2018, 2021? I don't remember. I don't remember when this movie came out. Editing will correct me later, but point is, this is a movie I've always been a little bit divided on, because it is still fun, it is still a good time, and it still has its good moments, but for what it was promising, it underdelivered spectacularly. But it's still a good time, so let's get into my very weird half and half review of Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage. Here's my written review. I hope you enjoy. Carnage alone got me excited for this one. He's one of my favorite Spider-Man villains. And while that part was disappointing, I still had a pretty good experience with this sequel. Yes, it's not better than the original, but it's also a fun time. Pros, Hardy's still great as Eddie Brock. Woody Harrelson is a pretty good Cletus Cassidy. Like, it's not 100% comic book accurate, but it's close, and Woody Harrelson being Woody Harrelson brought a lot to the role, so he still did a good job. None of my disappointment is aimed at him. He did a good job. The action is still fun, the dialogue is still hilariously cheesy, like a 90s movie, the pacing is still good, the runtime is still solid, and rewatchability is still pretty high, but admittedly, watching it back-to-back with the first, not by itself. By itself, rewatchability is middling. Also, Eminem is still on the soundtrack, which is always an instant win. I'm glad they brought Eminem back, even if it was as a feature credit this time, as the main artist on this one was Skylar Grey, a frequent collaborator of Eminem. Hell, she just collaborated with him on his last album for Temporary. However, this movie has a lot of problems, even more problems than the first. So let's talk about it. While Carnage is better than Riot, he is better than Riot, he's still a massive disappointment. We don't get to see Carnage as full Carnage here. You know why? Because of that fucking PG-13 rating. That thing kind of screwed the whole thing. Because Carnage is a vicious, malicious, and evil son of a bitch. But in this movie, he's not even allowed to go full in with that, because we can't see him ripping people apart, we can't see him decapitating people, we can't see him eating heads. All we see are, like, little stabs and off-screen murder. Like, come on, if you're gonna have Carnage, go full Carnage. Go maximum Carnage. But they didn't, and because of it, Carnage feels neutered, which leads to him being a massive disappointment. His design is cool. It's pretty much the same design philosophy as Venom, except it's a lot more of a sleeker, thinned down look, with, of course, the black around the eyes, which looks great. But Carnage himself was really disappointing. But you know who was even more disappointing? Agony. Yes, we get two symbiotes in this movie. We get Agony, and Agony's terrible. She barely does anything. She pretty much seems like a nomenclature to the entire plot, and honestly, you could cut her out and not miss a single thing. It would be the exact same movie with the exact same stuff going on. I mean, they try to build her up like she's a big, tragic character, but I don't buy it for a second. She is the worst part of the movie. Easily. Not only that, we don't even get to see her go full Venom either. Like, we don't get to see a symbiote form or nothing. She's just there. She's there to be there. No offense to the actress, but Agony is the worst part of the movie. The story's even more of a mess. It's way too convoluted to try to explain. Even trying to keep spoilers out of it is very hard to explain. It's at times a little too cheesy. Like, I don't mind cheesiness, but you have to have a balance. The romance subplot between Cletus and Agony is absolute garbage. There's no chemistry between the two actors, there was no chemistry between the two characters, and it just feels like they were shoved together because Sony was just so desperate to have another symbiote in the movie. Even though we don't get to see the full symbiote form, which is stupid. And it's still held back by its PG-13 rating. It's still PG-13. Again, these should have been R. Though, I will admit, the villain death was really cool. Cletus' ultimate demise is very, very satisfying. Overall, it is a drop-off from the first, but I still had a pretty good time. Sure, it's not great, and I won't really try to defend it against those who say it's crap, because I can kind of understand where they're coming from, unlike with the first movie. The first movie I will actively defend. This one, I like, but I'm not going to raise a finger to defend it, because it does have a lot of problems. But, in my opinion, it's still a good film. It's disappointing, but it's overall solid, and hopefully Last Dance is a strong finale. Which I'm hoping to find out tomorrow, but I don't know, time will tell. Point is, my final verdict for Venom 2 Let There Be Carnage is a disappointing, but still positive 6 out of 10. It's a decent film, it is a solid sequel, and I've definitely seen far worse things. It's just that, with a character like Carnage, I expected a lot more, and it just did not give me that. And having a whole bunch of the plot dragged down by Agony, it really hampered it severely. But outside of that, you still have Hardy being Hardy and being a great Eddie Brock and having his back and forth with Venom, and there's even a weird side plot about them splitting up that's treated like a married couple from a romance movie. It's weird. This movie's weird. You have to kind of just buy into the cheese in order to actually enjoy it. If you don't, you're in for a rough time. But you get around that. It's a decent film, it's a fun time, but I do think the first one's better. Well, that's it. Last Dance should be coming out tomorrow, but I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to see it tomorrow because it's getting close to the end of October, and there's still a lot of stuff to cover. So, thank you guys so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more videos like this almost every single day, and I'll see you in the next review. Take care, my fellow symbiotes.